Welcome to the Living with Fibromyalgia, FIBRO Explained by US. This is a podcast created by people who live with fibromyalgia, not to explain it away, not to make it easier for others to digest, but to tell the truth about what it's like to live with these bodies. Fibromyalgia is often misunderstood, minimized, or spoken about only in clinical language. But behind every diagnosis is a real person navigating pain, fatigue, grief, faith, doubt, relationships, work, and identity. This is not a podcast about fixing fibromyalgia. It's about living with it, honestly, gently, and on our own terms. You'll hear stories from people who choose to share with strong boundaries, consent, and control. No one here owes their pain to the public. I'm your host, Kay, and I live with fibromyalgia too. If you're here because you're newly diagnosed, long time diagnosed, loving someone with fibro, or simply wanting to listen, you're welcome. This is FIBRO Explained by US. Before we begin, I want to share a brief disclaimer. This podcast reflects personal experiences of living with fibromyalgia. The stories and conversations shared here are not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Everyone's body and journey are different. What works for one person may not work for another. This podcast is for informational and storytelling purposes only. Please consult your healthcare provider for medical decisions. We also recognize that conversations about chronic illness can be tender. Listeners' discretion is advised, and you're encouraged to take breaks and take care of yourself as needed. If I had to describe fibromyalgia to someone who's never lived in chronic pain, it's like living in constant pain, and it's annoying, it's agitating, it's exhausting. Sometimes you never get a break, and sometimes when you're living with fibro pain, when you don't have any pain, you become afraid because you know that the pain is coming back, and it might be coming back with a vengeance. So what that means is when the pain finally returns, it's like it comes back times 10, times 20, times 100. And it just depends on your pain threshold at the moment. There have been times where I have experienced fibro pain so long, I didn't remember what it felt like not to have any pain. In fact, a lot of people, including myself, when I wake up in the morning or go to sleep at night, I'm already experiencing pain at a level 3 or 4, and it just builds throughout the day. Fibromyalgia isn't just pain. It's pain plus fatigue, plus brain fog, plus grief. It's waking up already tired. It's canceling plans. It's your body feeling unfamiliar. Sometimes it's having fun and doing something today and not knowing what it will cost tomorrow. Now I'm going to talk about what a flare day looks like for me. It depends on how intense the pain is for that day. If it's a moderate pain day, I may wake up with pain around a 4 or 5, and because of fatigue, sometimes it's challenging to get up. I sleep more than I desire to, and I'm talking about more than 8 hours when I can sleep, and when I can't sleep, maybe an hour or 2. Because the pain can wake you up at night, and that's what I experience. But if the pain is about a 4 or 5, I get up. I try to do things to take care of myself, brush my teeth, get dressed. If the pain is all over my body and it really hurts, I have to wear loose clothing. I don't wear always undergarments or any like pants or anything like that because that can cause the pain to be more intense. And if the pain is really bad, I really can't get up at all. Um, for me, if someone is around me and they're listening to me while I'm feeling pain, I might say things like, oh my gosh, my arm is hurting really bad, or my legs are hurting really bad, or I'm trying to stretch the pain out. I'm trying to find some kind of relief. Um, on those really bad flare days, I can't cook. I have to have something that is easy for me to put in the oven or put in a bowl that I can eat right away. Otherwise, I won't be able to take my medicine. Um, I don't go outside, um, or I barely go outside. So I have a service dog, so I would take him outside, but he has really good recall. So I would allow him to go outside, and I will not go outside with him some days. Um, I can't clean much, and even on those really bad days, I can't take a bath. And so those are those are some things that happens on my flare up days. And essentially, I am in a flare up every day. And so it just depends on the intensity of my flare up. If my flare up is not too bad, then I can clean up a thing or two. For example, today I have a care coordinator that comes into my home to assist me, and all I was able to do today was clean my kitchen. And what that looked like was me wiping off my stove, wiping off my counters, putting up the rest of the groceries I could not put up yesterday, and fixing me something to eat so I can take my medicine. And after that, I had to rest. So now I'm going to talk about the invisible losses of being diagnosed and learning that I have fibromyalgia, dealing with chronic pain and chronic fatigue. These are some things that I've had to grieve. Not being able to clean and take care of myself or cook adequately for myself, independent of others, that has been a really big thing that I've had to grieve. Not being able to work a regular job and not knowing how to explain when I would have a flare up and how long that flare up would last. It has been the most challenging thing when I have been experiencing, in my experience of having fibromyalgia. There are so many things that I would love to do and want to do and accomplish in my schedule, but because I deal with chronic pain and chronic fatigue and brain fog from fibromyalgia, those times from when I used to be able to do them within an hour, within a couple of days, have been cut back to 30 minutes, 15 minutes, weeks. Sometimes it takes weeks for me to complete a specific task. And that is really annoying. And I have fought depression from it. And it saddens me. And I still fight it from time to time. But I have been accepting myself and my body for what it is. And that it may slow me down, but it will never stop me. Another thing that I have grieved with having fibromyalgia is not being able to participate in things that I could do otherwise, well, before I was diagnosed, before I started experiencing these symptoms. I love to be outside. I love to play sports. I love to exercise. I love to dance. And I also like to be outside and interacting with people daily. But I can't. I have to space out my activities. I have to pick and choose what things that I can go to. And sometimes I believe that I can go, and then the day comes or the hour comes, and I have to choose to listen to my body and rest. And I know that people that invite me to things that might be frustrating for them. And for me, it makes me feel like I'm not dependable. It makes me feel like I can't do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm a person who likes to follow through and do things by my word. So if I say I'm going to go somewhere, if I'm going to do something, that's what I want to do. But unfortunately, if I'm in a flare up or if I'm in too much pain, that may not happen. And so that's pretty whack. There are some things some people misunderstand when people have chronic pain or chronic illness in general, but right now obviously we're talking about fibromyalgia. And one of the things that I know that people misunderstand me is when I say that I'm fatigued. And so I try to explain it like this. Fatigue is not being tired. When people are tired, they usually can go on, they can usually power through. You cannot get enough rest or not enough sleep, but be able to finish the work day or go pick up the kids or fix your dinner, But when you're fatigued, for me, it's like my body shuts down. It's like I can't get up. Like literally, I can't get up. It's like my body tells me to sit down, you need to rest or else, pretty much. And so some people think that, take some B12, take some apple cider vinegar, or stretch more, drink more water. They make suggestions, but they really don't understand what it's like to be fatigued. And something, unfortunately, you can't always control. And so that's one of the big misunderstandings about being fatigued with fibromyalgia. Another misunderstanding that people have is the pain that people with fibromyalgia most likely experience on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes if you don't talk about the pain, then they think that you're not in pain. Well, that is not true. And if we talked about the pain all day, it would seem like we would be complaining, and it probably would be annoying, and people may not believe us. And so you just learn to live with the pain. You learn to have, I don't want to say a better pain threshold, because it very much is given. It's very much is given. I feel like I'm about to die, but like I lived in this pain for a minute, and I lived through this pain for a minute, so I know that I'm not about to die. But I don't want to talk about it. I want to think on other things. And so that's what I do when I'm in pain. I try to think about other things. And so I'm a believer, and the Bible says to fix your mind on things. It says set your affections on the things of the kingdom. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good report, by the renewing of your mind. And so when I'm in this place, I start thinking about who loves me. I start thinking about the days that I'm going to have better ahead, or the good days that I've had. I started thinking about what I'm grateful for. And those things can help distract me from the pain a little bit, but the pain doesn't go away, completely. So another thing I want to talk about is when you're not believed. So when I first started experiencing this pain, and when I first started trying to explain exactly what it was, well, let's just go back. So I had fell at a job, and I had a concussion, and then they found out that it was a brain injury. And so I knew that something was different about the way my mind operated, because I was well educated and I was articulate. But then, like, the words that I wanted to say, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't describe things. And so it was by one of my friends that is, I believe she was autistic, and she was telling me how different people express their pain. And sometimes I would express my pain by drawing a photo or making a sound. And so I knew that before this, I was able to do that. But then after that brain injury, I was not able to. And so because I couldn't describe the pain, it pretty much, I guess people just didn't believe that I was having pain. This is what I think. And it was very disappointing when you're experiencing these things and your doctor or your psychiatrist try to say that it's all in your head. And so, not to be violent, but when people used to say that to me, I just really wanted to, just give them a smack. I just wanted to line them up and smack them, because sometimes I'm like, I wish this pain was all in my head. I wish that it was, because then there could be a way that I could, imagine it to be gone, right? And so when your family don't believe you, when your friends don't believe you, especially when you're having a good day, and you choose to do something fun. I had someone tell me once that they didn't think that I was in as much pain because I was dancing. And when I was dancing like that, they were like, it's just hard to believe me. And I had decided that I let them know, what do you want me to do? On a good day, should I just lay down the all day and just, mellow in sadness? Or should I just take this opportunity that I have today where my pain is a little bit lower and get up to do something that I love? And so that is what I chose to do. And so there was a time when people didn't believe me, and I'm an actor. So I started to play the role. And that really damaged me mentally. So what I mean by play the role for me is that I started walking around looking busted. I stopped doing my hair. I mean, it was difficult to do that anyway, but I was just like, maybe I gotta look like trash for people to start believing that I'm in pain. And then once, I just used to watch videos for people that had disabilities, and there was this one lady, I don't remember who she was, but she didn't have any limbs, and she put her makeup on, and she would put her makeup on with, she didn't have any hands, and I'm not sure if she had legs or not, but she said that something like, if people are going to judge me for trying to look good, if this is all that I can do for myself, putting makeup on myself to look good, to make myself feel good about me, then they're just going to have to be upset. And that really stuck with me, because I was looking dusty, and it made me more depressed, which made me have more pain, which triggered more pain. And so I started taking care of myself better. And I stopped caring if people believe me or not. And if a doctor didn't believe me, then I would just have to find another doctor. And that's pretty much what I did. If my family didn't believe me, I didn't let that affect me anymore, because it was not my responsibility to prove my experience to them. It's just that I know my experience was real, and that is good enough for me. In conclusion, there are many losses when dealing with fibromyalgia that people don't see. It's not just the physical ability, but the confidence, the consistency, and sometimes trust in your own body. It's like your body is betraying you. You want to do so much, but you know that if you do, you're at risk for it to retaliate against you just enjoying and living your life. Faith, God, and chronic illness. Let's talk about when I began wrestling with God. Wrestling with God and being in pain. I still wrestle with God while I'm in pain. And so I believe God is good, and I also live in pain. And I understand when people say things like, the words you speak create your world. So I also believe that I am healed, but it's not it's not up to me when I'm going to be healed. Just put it like that. It's not up to me when that's going to happen. But I do believe that God can heal me right now. Well, wrestling with God and being in pain, there have been some days some months, some weeks where I have been experiencing so much pain. I literally thought that I was going to die, because if I'm experiencing this much pain, I must have to be about to die. In fact, it's so crazy. I call it my petty obituary. So I live in Iowa, and I went back to Texas because I had a plan that I was going to see my nieces and nephews, especially the ones that I had not seen at all, and also basically tell my family bye, spend the rest of the time that I had to be alive with my family. That was my plan. And before I had left Iowa, I had researched all the things that needed to be gathered for when somebody was going to pass away. And one of the things that I discovered in my research was that my family would have to come all the way to Iowa to look through all of my things when I had passed away. And I just didn't want to put the burden for them to have to go through my stuff and move the things out of that apartment. And that's literally another reason why I went home, because I thought I was going to pass away and I didn't want that burden to be on my family as well. Spend time with my family. And so I went home. I found a funeral home. I found out how much it costs to cremate myself. And yeah, I started writing an obituary. And so the reason why I did that is because my mom passed away, and I had to help write hers. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do mine when I'm alive. Like, I wanted to control my obituary. So that's pretty much why I did it. And in my obituary, it was really, I call it petty because I was really angry when I was writing it. And so it was kind of childish, but it was honest. And so I don't really curse anymore, but I definitely got some curse words in there. And I haven't changed it because that's exactly how I was feeling. And so there have been times when my faith has felt strained. When I'm in a really bad flare up, and I'm talking about 10 plus pain, I have experienced 10 plus pain. And I have not had a child yet. So I don't know what childbirth is like, but I know I've experienced 10 plus pain. Sometimes I used to be driving and having thoughts, while I'm driving, like I could just end it all. And because I just wanted the pain to stop. I just wanted it to stop. I wanted to be able to have my life back. I remembered I grieved so long after I was experiencing these things. In fact, I didn't even realize how the ableist mindset that I even had, not for others, but more towards myself. I was like, I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. And sometimes I would talk to God and I would be like, this is crazy. I can't even cook. This is crazy. I can't even clean up my house. Like, this is dumb. And I just, sometimes I just would just cry, you know? Let's talk about where God met me anyway. And thank God he did. Because I honestly and truly believe that God knows what I was experiencing, and I also believe he knew what I would experience later in my life. And so once I found out that I had fibromyalgia, and I set my behind down because I was not a rester. I was a go-getter. If anything that needed to be done and nobody did it for me, I didn't have a problem with that. I was unfortunately ultra independent. Like, I was independent plus ultra. Like, seriously. And so if nobody would do it, I would do it. I would figure it out. And to me, God was like, I need you to sit down. I need you to slow down. I need you to rest. And that was really hard for me. Just resting and not feeling worthless while I rest. You know, some people think that, this is what I believe from my experiences and what I've heard people say. You know, some people think that when you don't do anything, or supposedly don't do anything at all, like, you're content with that. But literally, when I was bedridden, I was not content with not doing anything. And so I have a dog that was a pet first, and he was an ESA, and I ended up training him to be my service dog. And God gave me purpose through that. And now I have a business where I teach businesses and organizations of all sizes how to legally and safely and respectfully interact with service dog teams. And like, I would have never thought that I would be doing something like that. I would have never thought that I could be a paid speaker. Like, the plan that I had for my life was just totally different. And sometimes I think about like that plan that I had, but this one makes me feel so much better, like the purpose that I have. And these days, I have been feeling so much more grateful for the pain that I've been experiencing. The pain has made me more patient. It has made me be able to slow down in my thoughts. It also has allowed me not to blame other people, even if I'm in pain and I'm annoyed. Like, it's not their fault that I'm experiencing pain. So I can't just go off on someone because, you know, maybe I'm frustrated at the conversation. But it just made me slow down. It made me kinder. It made me think before I speak. And so, to me, that represents the fruit of the Spirit, because love is patient, love is kind, it's not boasting. It doesn't boast in evil, and and so, like, I believe that the fruits of the Spirit have grown within me through fibromyalgia, through this pain. And like, I believe, like I said, I believe that God is good, and I also live in pain, and that the two things can coexist. And one day, God's gonna heal me, whether it's now or if it's in heaven. And everybody may not believe that, and that's okay. Now, one thing I do want to say is that, because some people have told me that God hasn't healed me because I don't have enough faith. And to those people, I would say this to you. I hope that you never have to experience something like this in your life. I pray that God keeps you healthy and that your body is always in a place that you can move and that you don't have long-term or chronic pain. I have cried, I have pleaded, and I have begged. I have prayed. I have yearned. I have uttered prayers without words. They call it moaning and groaning in the word. And God has not healed me because of my faith. And I like to explain it to people that I know that's not true. For one, I know God can do miracles. I've seen him do it so many times. And so it is not that I don't believe and that I don't have faith that God has not healed me. Even Paul said in the word that he asked God 3 times to remove the thorn in his side. And his answer was no. He said, my grace is sufficient for you. And I had plans for my new body, my healed body. Okay, I had plans. All right, I was going to do some things. I had already planned. Like, I had a regimen, I had trips planned, I had careers planned, and God was like, no. Okay, you're gonna live with this. And I also believe that by living with this, I am able to relate to others and encourage them. And so the last thing I'm going to say about this, I'm not sure if I'm going to put this in, but I met someone who had disabilities once. I went on a date with God. And he had the ability to heal people. And this is something that he had shared with me, because God allowed me to meet different people that experience pain or have disabilities that has not been healed. And some of them were able to heal other people. He said to me that people would ask him, how does he feel to heal someone, but God hasn't healed him? And what he told me is that he didn't have to be healed for him to believe in God, for him to believe God. If God never healed him, he was still going to serve him. And to me, that helped me. That helped me so much. Like, when I'm at the brink of pain where I need to go to the hospital, I pray and I tell the enemy, I'm never going to serve you. I'm always going to serve God. I don't care how much pain that I'm in. I don't care what I feel like I can or I cannot do. You cannot turn me away from him, because I know and I've experienced his true power in the fullness of his love, and pain could never take that away. And so I'm glad to take up my cross. Even though I have some very challenging and difficult days, I am glad to take up my cross on this earth and do the purpose that he has called me to do, even though I experience this daily. Faith hasn't removed my fibromyalgia, but it has changed how I survive it. The last thing I want to share are boundaries and what I won't share when experiencing fibromyalgia. There are parts of my story that I like to keep sacred. And some of those consist of, how I got to this place. Or, so I'll just give a story as an example. Someone helped me out in the past, and I moved into an apartment, and they was trying to give me an advice, and the advice wasn't terrible. They were just talking about budgeting and everything like that. But what they said was, they said, don't let this happen again. And that's why they were giving me budgeting advice. And so I was really upset with that person when they said that, because they just did not know why I was in the position that I was in. And I just told them, that's not what happened. That's not why I'm here. And I feel a tug in my heart not to share my story with them, because some people aren't worth telling all the details. Some people aren't worth, telling why and how. And sometimes if you tell, they may not even believe you anyway. So when I'm out and about, I don't tell everybody, my full story. I don't tell them what's going on. I haven't shared it here. And so some things, you just gonna have to read about in my book, but serious, but not serious, but also serious. And so not everything is for public consumption, and that's okay. You don't have to share your hardest days. You don't even have to share the best days that you've had, when you experience the symptoms of fibromyalgia. And this podcast will always honor that. So in the future, you're going to be listening to stories and experiences of other people, and they're going to share exactly what they feel necessary to share. And I won't push them to share any further because it's not my story to tell, but it's also my responsibility for giving them this avenue to share their story, to make sure that they are respected and they feel comfortable with that. And so if you're listening and living with fibromyalgia, I want you to know this. You are not weak. You are not dramatic. You are not failing. You are adapting. Thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me go first. Before we close, I just want to say thank you for being here. If this episode resonated with you, if it felt insightful, encouraging, or simply made you feel a little less alone, I invite you to share it with someone. Share it on YouTube, send it to a friend, post it on social media. You never know who may be silently struggling with fibromyalgia and needing to hear this. Living with fibromyalgia can make traditional work and daily life challenging. So every listen, every share, every subscription truly matters. It helps us continue build a space where our stories are heard, validated, and supported. If you'd like to support this podcast further, whether by subscribing, leaving a review, or even donating if that becomes available, please know that your support helps us grow something bigger than just a podcast. It helps us build community, advocacy, and resources for those living with fibromyalgia. Thank you for standing with us. Thank you for listening. And as always, I'm wishing you strength, courage, grace, and a wonderfully blessed day.